Welcome to Leader You by Black River Performance Management, where we believe work should fuel the human spirit, not drain it. In this leadership podcast, we will dive into the lived experiences of people flourishing in today's workplace and beyond. Join us to hear real-life examples of experiences from our own lives and from the leaders we know and trust. Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Leader You podcast. Have you ever felt like you lack discipline? I know I have. Some days I feel really on point, and then some days I really want to pull the covers over my head and stay in bed. Oftentimes we don't feel like doing the things we know we should be doing to make our goals or our dreams a reality. Today was one of those days for me. Not wanting to get out of bed was hitting me hard. Last night I had a friend spring free concert tickets on us for the Pit, so we went even though the concert started a little bit more like the time we normally go to bed so that we can get up and hit the gym in the morning before we start our workday. The concert was fun and we had some great connection and some fellowship, but I got to bed really late and I also had a couple of drinks, which made me sleep horribly. And consequently, I didn't make it to the gym and I felt pretty awful and tired and unmotivated all day long. There's a stark difference in my mood and my energy and my give a damn when I don't get enough sleep. Good sleep is essential to be able to manage our emotions and our motivation. This isn't the first time I've learned this lesson. Unfortunately, I like learning the hard way, and I knew full well that this would be some consequences for an evening like this and how I would feel the next day. And this is where having more discipline would have served me better. There are a lot of areas I would like to discover a more disciplined approach to my life and my aspirations, as well as my overall health and just feeling good in general. And for the most part, I would say I'm pretty disciplined with my health and my work, but I do have days like today or like yesterday where I just do something that sounds fun, and I don't even think about my lack of discipline and how it can set me back or make me feel. And I could feel lousy for a couple of days. What I've discovered is having some sort of framework or mental model has really helped me show up more consistently and be more prepared and more productive. I'm excited to bring on a special guest for you all today. His name is Dane Hudson, and he's one of Asia Pacific's most sought-after CEO coaches, and he's evolved his offering to now include keynote speeches on discipline, the not-so-secret sauce to achieving your goals. He uses the discipline framework, and I can't wait for him to share it with you. I know that Dane will inspire us to all become more disciplined and provide us some insights and some changes that will be required to set us on a path to achieving our goals and our aspirations. Dane Hudson is a seasoned international leader, having been a CEO for over 25 years in different industries, a testament to his belief that effective leadership transcends industry boundaries. His most recent role saw him at the helm of a workforce of over 200,000 employees across the Asia-Pacific region. With a career marked by transformative leadership and a dedication to empowering others, Dane Hudson is an inspirational figure in the world of leadership and business. His impactful leadership framework and extensive experience make him a sought-after speaker and mentor, endeavoring to leave a lasting impact on individuals and organizations alike. Dane's insatiable appetite for knowledge and unrelenting curiosity, combined with his 6 years as a consultant, a decade as a CFO, and a quarter-century as a CEO, has culminated in the creation of an exhaustive leadership framework. In 2020, he introduced Impactful Leadership, a model that revolves around 3 pivotal pillars essential for leaders to master, being discipline, driving change, and hands-on practicality. Dane's comprehensive methodology goes beyond theory, offering practical frameworks and templates that empower leaders to authentically express their unique leadership styles and make a profound impact. As a result of his expertise, Dane has become the preferred coach for top venture capitalists and private equity funds in Southeast Asia, sought after to nurture and develop their founders and CEOs. In 2023, Dane expanded his reach by embarking on a journey as a keynote speaker, leveraging his extensive experience and impactful leadership content he has meticulously crafted. Throughout his career, Dane has held pivotal executive roles, including Senior Vice President and Chief Finance and Development for Yum Restaurants International, New York Stock Exchange listed owners of KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut. CEO of ASX listed Australian Vintage, one of Australia's largest wine companies, and regional CEO of ISS Asia Pacific, one of the world's largest facility service providers, overseeing a workforce of over 200,000 employees across Asia Pacific. His passion for continuous learning is evident by his educational background, which includes a Bachelor's of Engineering from Sydney University, an MBA from Columbia Business School in New York. He's completed the Executive Management Program at Stanford Business School and earned a certification as the Director from the Australian Institute of Directors. Furthermore, he is accredited an executive coach from the Holt Ashridge Executive Education School in the UK. In October 22, he was recognized by the Global Coaching Organization and EMCC as a senior practitioner of one of the highest coaching levels attainable. Dane's commitment to personal growth extends to his graduation from the Hoffman process and his more than 2 decades of membership in the Global CEO Organization, YPO. Arguably more important than his success in business is that Dane has been married for more than 35 years and is the proud father of 3 girls. 3 accomplished daughters who are well on their own careers while maintaining a balanced approach to life and relationships. Rob and I had the pleasure of meeting Dane and his wife, Melinda, who was recently on the podcast also. We got to visit them while we were visiting in Singapore in February. They were such kind hosts, and we instantly made fast friends due to our interests and our desire to help people become the best versions of themselves. I'm so thrilled that they wanted to contribute to our community of listeners and offer their hard-earned wisdom. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dane. So thank you for joining us today, Dane. I'm excited to have you here, and I'm excited to have you share your discipline approach with myself and with our listeners. So thank you. Thanks for being here.
Great. Thanks for inviting me on board, Angie.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us, you have an incredible work history and, education and just so much experience and so much hard-earned wisdom. Do you want to share a little bit about how you got on that journey or, how you ended up doing all of those crazy things and being all over Asia and just share the journey with us?
Sure. I'll try to keep it short. So early on, we're not always good at listening to our parents, but my father provided some fantastic advice. And he said, do engineering. It's a hard degree, finish well, get good grades, then get a job, then do an MBA. And in the 80s, that wasn't the normal thing for at least Australians to do. So I did engineering, and I was very fortunate. There's a lot of luck in life, but I ended up being recruited by the gentleman, Richard Pratt, who was the second richest guy in Australia, and he ran a packaging company. And I was one of 4 graduates that he brought in. And after about 3 months, he didn't know what to do with me. So he made me general manager of one of his businesses that was losing about $20,000 a month. And he said, fix it. So at the age of 22, I was the general manager of a $5 million business reporting to the second richest guy in Australia.
Wow.
And then I loved that. I had a wonderful learning experience as general manager. I then went to an MBA. I spent 6 years with Booz Allen Hamilton consulting, then Yum Brands, which is KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, 12 years there. In Australia, Southern Africa, I was the CEO of Africa. And then I went to Dallas, Texas, where I was the international CFO. I'm an engineer with an MBA. I'm not an accountant. No offense to accountants. But it was a very commercial role. I had finance, I had global store development. We'd make opening about 1,000 stores a year, global supply chain, global M&A, IT, etc. Best job on the planet.
Wow.
However, I needed to leave. My wife and I agreed that as much as we love our American friends, we didn't want to just stay in America and our kids to become American. We wanted them to decide where they want to live in the world. So I came back to Australia, and I became CEO of one of Australia's largest wine companies, which sounds great on paper, but wine companies should not be publicly listed companies. You have no control over your costs, your revenue. You obviously have some revenue, but it's a commodity. And so I had the pleasure of being the CEO with the share price dropping 97% while I was the CEO. Did I make some dumb decisions? Yeah, a couple, but not that dumb. We got the share price back up by the time I left. And then I joined Facility Services, which ISS, the Global Facility Services Company, the companies that the US listeners might know would be Sodexo, Compass, Delaware North, etc. So it's cleaning, catering, lots and lots of people. I ran a business in Australia for 5 years, then Asia with about 200,000 people across Asia. And then I reinvented myself and I became a CEO coach. About 7 years ago, I started writing everything down, and I blinked and was suddenly 1,000 pages long.
Wow.
So 4 years ago, I became a CEO coach, and I'm pleased to say that I'm very proud of the fact that I'm one of the most sought after coaches in Asia. So I'm very privileged on my journey, Angie. I'm definitely never been the smartest person in the room. Worked hard and had some luck.
That's incredible. You were sharing when we were in Singapore a little bit about just some of the people you get to coach and like just their journeys too. And that was so interesting to, working with these young entrepreneurs and things. And it was just fascinating. I wish we had more time to go into that, but I really do want to dive into the topic today that I wanted to have you on here for, because I do think that one of the biggest challenges people face as leaders or entrepreneurs, or even just for our overall health and wellness, is discipline is something. Accountability and discipline seem to be lacking with the people that I end up working with, and even with myself. And so I thought, what better way to have somebody on that's kind of written the book on that, the discipline thing, or at least has a framework and a model. I know that when I have a framework or a model for anything, it kind of dumbs it down for me, and I can wrap my head around it, and I can have a plan, and I have a language and a mindset and a skill set that I can start to apply.
Yeah, no, great. 100% agree. I think acronyms are the best way in the world to remember stuff. So I did create this discipline acronym, and so it's DISCPLNE. So there's only one I in my discipline.
Okay.
And I'll talk through that in a moment. But maybe just going back to my career, one of the things I failed to mention was that I've moved country 10 times, moved house 27 times. And I'm fortunate for Melinda to have hung around with me, who you did the podcast with earlier, for 36 years. And I think to get through that, you need to have discipline. And I've got some faults in life, but one of the things I do have is a lot of discipline on how to do things.
That's incredible. Do you think it was like nature or nurture, or a little bit of both?
Well, it can definitely be nurture. So you can learn how to be disciplined. A lot of people, they decide they can't become disciplined. They don't know where to start. And then probably the easiest excuse is that, oh, I'm not a disciplined person.
Right.
That's I think that's a cop out.
A fixed mindset. Yeah.
Anyone can.
That's a fixed mindset. But did you have parents that were highly disciplined? Was your environment growing up disciplined?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some nature there as well. My father was extremely disciplined. Every day of my life when I was living at home, he would go to work in the morning. He was an investment banker, and then come home in the evening. We'd always have dinner as a family. He didn't do a lot of travel. So we always had dinner as a family. Then at 8:30 at night, he would go into his office and he'd work from 8:30 till 11 p.m. every night in his office. And that was just a monstrous amount of discipline. He was a very keen sailor and a rate breaker, and that took a lot of discipline as well. So, and he was a bit of a taskmaster, but it was always up to me to do what I wanted to do. But I definitely realized that creating discipline was a good thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you have some stories or things that happened to you earlier in life where you didn't have very good discipline and it kind of taught you some lessons?
I probably do, and I'm not avoiding the answer, but nothing sort of springs out. I've always been maybe it's a little bit sort of too much attention to detail. But I'm a very calendar focused, organized person.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been the case. No matter how busy my week is, I can remember my whole calendar.
Wow.
So I don't need to refer to my notes. Whether it's something in here that I'm very organized. I've always been extremely respectful of starting on time
Mm-hmm.
and on meetings, and that's not always the case with leaders.
Right.
And it sends a pretty negative, I think, it sends a pretty negative signal to your team if you're always late. You're 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, 20 minutes late to the meeting, then your meeting runs over with them and it messes up everyone else's day. And I just think I talk a lot about role models, and great leaders need to learn how to have discipline in the way they run their business. And that then sort of cascades down through the rest of the team. Whatever the CEO does, generally the rest of the team do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's like practice what you preach, right? I see that a lot too. Just there, it's modeling behaviors that you'd like to see or not like to see.
Exactly. And so, as you mentioned, I do work a lot in the startup community.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably 95% of my clients in Southeast Asia and a few in Australia. And so I work with a lot of them, and they're between 25 years old and 40 years old. And they haven't necessarily had the multinational experience that I've had. Some of them sort of straight out of university, maybe into another startup. Now they're the CEO of their own startup,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have that discipline, and
Yeah.
they don't understand the concept of shadow of the leader.
Mm-hmm.
So shadow of the leader means we all have positional power.
Mm-hmm.
As a parent, we have massive positional power,
Right.
and what we do as a mother or father impacts our children, and they copy us.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing in the business environment. Shadow of the leader is whatever you say and do is exaggerated by your position.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of leaders don't think that like that. They think, oh, I'm just one of the team,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not.
That's so
They
good.
copy you, repeat you.
Mm-hmm. That is so good. I was just speaking with one of my clients the other day, and I had to call her out a little bit and ask her if she was modeling, because she will do anything for her own team, but she wasn't taking the time to take care of herself because of her position. And I just asked her some questions that made a point. And she was able to see that herself clearly, and she recognized the hypocrisy of telling
Yeah.
your employees or your team members to make sure they prioritize self-care or take care of themselves when their health is at risk, and her health is at risk. And I was like, what are you going to do about it, right? And how are you going to model the behaviors you'd like to see from your team as well?
And I think that's where the discipline comes in, which is one of my C stands for cheer yourself on, which is also includes looking after yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The airlines saying put your oxygen mask on first.
Mm-hmm.
As a leader, uh, being a little bit selfish at times is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And you need to have that discipline to go, actually, I need to look after myself. I need to find some me time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great book called The Third Space
Okay.
by Adam Fraser. It's an old book. It's probably 20 plus, maybe 30 years old. And it talks about the third space being the space between two events. So maybe work and home. And so that transition is the third space.
Mm-hmm.
And really important as leaders. Actually, I might tell a little story. So I remember I would be driving home from work. It'd be 6:30 night or something like that. And I get a phone call. And all of us in business know you never, ever get a good news phone call at 6:30 at night. You only get bad news phone calls at 6:30 at night. So I'd get these bad news phone calls as I'm driving home,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd just sit on the phone talking, and then I'd get home and I can't pull into the garage because I'd lose the signal. And so I'd be outside, and Melinda would be looking down, going, "Okay, he's on the phone."
Mm-hmm.
And then I would finish the phone call, go into the house, and then I would yell out, "Hey, honey, kids, I'm home." But I'd actually then go, to the bedroom, to I'm a gym junkie, so I'd unpack my gym gear, pack my gym gear, maybe have a shower, plug in my appliances, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And that 10 or 15 minutes gave me the chance to reset.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came into the home environment, I was present.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that third space is resetting, and we need to do it between meetings. We need to do it between the weekend is a way to reset, is effectively a third space. And I really encourage leaders to find their third space. It might be 3 deep breaths.
Mm-hmm.
It might be meditation at the start, at the end of the day. It might be exercising at 5:30 in the morning. But what's your third space?
Yeah, I think that is incredible advice. I've even given the suggestion of maybe it's driving a different way home and playing music loud or running, whatever it is that kind of gets you in a different frame of mind. A shower is a great idea too, like that physical.
Yeah.
There's something physical, like a walk or stopping and walking on the way home. For I think that physical and that environmental, even splashing water on your face, something like that can really kind of just shake things up.
Exactly. No, 100% agree. You need to find out what works for you, and it might be between meetings, it might be end of day, start of day, whatever it might be. But you need to reset as a leader, as a person. You can't carry negative energy from one meeting to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you had a terrible client meeting where you lost the contract, from 9 till 10 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got a meeting from 10 to 11 with a functional team, and they're presenting to the CEO and they're going, this is career day for them. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to then forget the customer issue
Mm-hmm.
and focus and be present with the people that are in front of you. That's what they expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you got to the C. Should we get backwards and start going down the framework for start with the D and walk us through it?
Yeah, sure. So the first D stands for making a deliberate decision to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you. That's the mindset piece.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great it was some research by Michigan State University, as well as in 7 Habits book,
Mm-hmm.
with Covey's book. And it talks about when you think about creating personal change, 50% is knowing you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
That's 50% of the journey is going, I know I need to change. 25% is going, okay, I'm going to change. So 75% of the journey of creating change in your life is actually making the deliberate decision that I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The final 25%, that's the tools.
Mm-hmm.
So you go a long way down the path by just making that deliberate decision to go forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's basis of even a 12-step program, right? You have to
Exactly.
decide, right? This is not working. What I've been doing is not working, and so now I need to change. And don't you love when you get clients that's where they are and they're ready
Yeah.
they're ready. They're the things have been working not as well as they'd like, and now they're just hungry for give me the tools and help me and some accountability too. Don't you think that coaching piece really provides that accountability to them to be disciplined or whatever it is that you're working with them through?
And that's what gives us the joy
Yeah.
as coaches, when you see the change, you see the passion about actually making a difference. I'm very fortunate. I've fired more clients than have fired me. I've walked away from a number of clients just because they're not making changes.
Yeah.
That this coaching, I might enjoy the fee, but I go, no, it's not worth it. I'm in this because I love doing it, not for the money.
Right.
And I walk away from some clients because they're just not that we have the same conversations every couple of weeks, and that's no fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the D, making a deliberate decision to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then the I is I own it. And there's only one I in my discipline, and you own it. I own this
Mm-hmm.
about creating discipline in my life. I can't abrogate the responsibility and blame someone else. We'll talk about you need a support network, but I own this.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go forward and make a difference. So the example I use here would be a trans-American bus trip. And you think about something like that. Maybe it's a bus trip, maybe it's a train trip. As you walk through a cabin or look at the bus, there's a guy or a girl down the back with a hoodie on and their earphones in, just dozing away.
Mm-hmm.
So their engagement in the bus trip is 1 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got someone maybe halfway up the bus, and it's again a male or female person is reading, watching Netflix, but they're glancing out the window. They go, "Oh, that looks interesting," and they're reading away. So they're probably a 5 out of 10. They're sort of engaged in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got some people close to the front, and they're talking about the journey. They're looking out the window. They're excited about where they're going, and they're probably 8 out of 10. And then you've got the driver up the front, and maybe two or three people standing around the driver, chatting, making decisions about where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
That's life.
Yeah.
Are you own that? Are you the person down the back in the hoodie? Are you person that actually gets involved a little bit with your life, but otherwise just sitting on the bus on the journey?
Mm-hmm.
Are you playing a more active role, or are you the driver looking ahead?
Yeah.
And I want to see people that are towards the front of the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally you might put the hoodie on and have a bit of a snooze.
Mm-hmm.
But generally you want to be up the front of the bus. And so that's the I own it piece. You've got to own it. And you've got to own it 90% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
not drop the ball.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for joining us on the Leader U podcast, sponsored by Black River Performance Management. Leader U is an important part of Black River's initiative to bring high quality leadership development and organizational performance improvement solutions. Leader U is one of our initiatives that features different speakers whom provide their expertise and perspectives on a variety of workplace topics. I invite you to visit our webpage at www.blackriverpm.com. That is www.blackriver, the letter P as in performance and the letter M as in management. We offer a wide range of services from training to performance improvement, coaching, retreats, and group facilitation and strategic planning. Our focus is to assist people in better understanding how to lead effectively and impactfully through a variety of evidence-based tools and practices.
C then is for, S, can't spell. S is for sow the seed and start small. So there's a great book called Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about how to create change and how to create these new habits. And it takes, I don't know if he said it or someone said it, but 66 days to create these habits.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to start small. And so one of the things I talk about is frictionless time. You need to choose to do things when there's the least amount of friction in the day. So someone who decides that they want to get healthy, and they decide, I'm going to go to the gym 2 times a week at noon. I'm going to sneak out of the office to it. That's not going to happen.
No.
There's always a meeting on. The meeting runs late. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. Gym person.
Yep.
Did I really want to get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym? Not particularly. But was that the lowest point of friction? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, it becomes a habit.
Right.
So you can't. So if someone suddenly wants to create a habit of health and getting exercise and fitness, start small. Your frictionless time might be 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Or 4 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. Start then.
Mm-hmm.
So start really small and start making those changes. So really important that you think about what I can do to move me on that journey.
Yeah. And get us some small wins.
Absolutely. And that moves into C, which is cheer yourself on.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be your biggest cheerleader. Often we're our biggest critics.
Yeah.
And we beat ourselves up. Oh, I should have gone to the gym today. I didn't go to the gym today. But you have to cheer yourself on. You've got to be your biggest cheerleader. You've got to go, actually, I'm really proud of what I did today.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually I'm pleased with where I'm going on this journey, as opposed to beating yourself up on it. And the starting small, it's easier to cheer yourself on when you're starting small.
Yeah. When you're trying to get there 1 or 2 days a week, it's a lot easier to make than when you're trying to make it 6 days a week. And then you feel kind of upset with yourself when you don't make it. But even if you're making it 3 or 4 days a week, you're still doing a really good job of taking care of yourself, right? It's better than not doing anything, right?
It's like, okay, I want to drink less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, start drinking less, 2 or 3 days a week and not drinking at all, and then move up to, a few weeks not having a drink and things. So, or eating, I want to eat healthy. Okay, I do enjoy an ice cream after dinner. Well, I'm only going to do that twice a week.
Yeah.
So it's just choosing little things, and it's also removing temptation.
Yeah.
So, if you're trying to eat fewer chocolates, then don't have them in the fridge.
Exactly. Yeah.
So remove the temptation. But cheer yourself on. As I said, be pleased with where you are. Now, P has two meanings. One is make your partner your partner, and then the other P is public commitments. So I'll start with that one first. We know in business and in life, if we make a public commitment, we're more likely to stand behind it. And we see that in business. So, these leaders or CEOs that create the business plan and just tell their leadership team and organization, this is the business plan, you're not going to get the ownership, as opposed to the leadership team playing a role in creating that business plan.
Yeah.
So same thing with this. If you plan to get fit, if you plan to actually eat healthier, if you want to become a little bit more, have more impact at work, you need to actually tell people this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And they then hold you to account. And that moves into make your partner your partner. We all need a lot of partners, and it might be a relationship partner, a girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife or mother or father to cheer you on. But you need that. You might need a gym, a coach, a trainer. You might need a nutritionist. You might need a coach, someone like myself or yourself. So we all need multiple partners to get through this. It's becoming disciplined is not a solo sport. You do need to have people support you on that journey, and maybe push you along at the right times or cheer you on at the other times.
Yeah.
But really important to have a partner, and it can be anything. It can be all those things, but you've got to have multiple partners.
On that same topic, wouldn't you say that everybody who's a high performer has a coach, whether it's athletics or business? Like people who want to be a top performer have a coach, don't they?
Yeah. No, I think it's a great example that athletes. There's no supreme athlete that doesn't have a coach, and the same thing in business. If you want to get ahead, and same thing in life. There's a lot of wonderful life coaches that help, particularly with transitions.
Yeah.
So we know when change is happening in our lives, it's actually good to talk to someone, and someone where their only interest is you. Because one of the challenges we have in life is there are a lot of people that have a vested interest in us, and that may not be for our benefit.
Yeah. Yep. It might be for theirs. They may not want you to do certain things, right? And that's why the danger of using friends and family as your coach, and because they're emotionally invested in your success or not success or where you might go or whatever. It's nice to have somebody that helps you keep to your own script.
Absolutely. And that is the great thing about a coach, is they can be unbiased, and as you would know, there's a range of coaches. The traditional journey of asking great questions to make the individual rethink. Sadly, I would fail my coaching accreditation nowadays. I'm more in the mentoring and advising piece, but that's what my clients want.
Yeah.
They employ me as their coach mentor, because of my experience, and seek that advice. With that said, my whole career, I've done everything I can not to tell people what to do. So I still try not to tell people what to do.
Right.
They own it. They need to take it forward as a coach.
Yeah.
But that's a great example. Now, the next one is, this is discipline, 5.0, the L, lifelong learning. And, we can't, if we maintain the status quo, we're going nowhere. So you think about our journeys from preparatory school to middle school to senior school to university or jobs, and then other jobs, from being a child to learning how to be a young adult to actually getting married or having children, etc. So we all progress and learn in all the different channels that we participate in through life. Now, you can do that through osmosis and just let it sink in as you go on your day-to-day journey, or you can be deliberate, going back to my D, being deliberate in being a lifelong learner. So I remember Jim Collins, again, he's a wonderful author. He wrote Good to Great, Built to Last, The Flywheel Effect, hands down my favorite author ever. And I remember seeing him speak probably 10 years ago, and he said to the audience, he said, every 2 years I start doing something different. I'd learn a new skill. And that's something that inspired me. So one of my roles was I was the China CEO of one of our businesses because I struggled to find a new CEO. So I learned Mandarin for about 18 months.
Oh.
That language.
Wow. I know a little bit. More Indian.
Oh, we are so lucky with English. We don't have tones.
Right.
Where Mandarin, Thai, a number of the Asian languages have tones.
Yes.
And so the same word can mean 7 different things depending on how you say it. So very tough. But I learned it for 18 months, and that was an interesting experience. I then took up the guitar 5 years ago.
Nice.
And I've taken up singing lessons 6 months ago.
Wow. That's exciting.
But you don't have to be that, no one has to be like me, but this lifelong learn piece is a great way. They argue that the more you do in terms of learning and different skills, it actually does keep dementia and some of those other things a little bit further at bay. They've got research that proves that, and it's different from doing the Sudoku every morning. So that's the same thing. That's using a certain part of the brain. It's actually doing different things. They say languages, instruments are wonderful tools to actually have your brain firing in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
And so to be disciplined, you've got to continue to learn and become a lifelong learner about how can I progress? What can I do differently?
Yeah. Recently I've taken up scuba diving. And that is, I have some fears around it, but also there's a lot to it when you're thinking about it and the breathing part and how do you, it just, you have to use different parts of your brain, and you're trying to navigate thoughts that are scary and then, keep everything going. It's been really, I think, really meditative too, because you really have to focus on your breathing the whole time, until you get to the point where it becomes automatic. And I'm not to that place yet. So you're building those skills, right? Like if water gets in my mask, how am I going to handle this? Or if my oxygen tank stops, how, and I get panicky, how do I use the octopus and, and not just, jet to the top as fast as I can? So those skills, those emergency or those when you're in trouble type skills, I'm not confident in those yet. I don't have competence. And so, but you're right. It's just, you can't get good at anything if you don't continue to practice and learn and grow and use your brain in different ways. I know my brain's just freaking out when I'm doing that. Not only with there is literally fish in our swimming pool that's 30 feet deep that we're learning in. So maybe one day we'll get over to Australia on a reef or something.
That's my favorite place in the world, Angie. 30 meters under the water.
Oh,
I've been diving since the age of 13.
oh,
So
wow.
your viewers might guess that I'm no longer anywhere near 13. But I've been diving for decades and decades. Favorite thing in the world. So what you need to do is come to Singapore, and then we go on a liverboard dive trip off Indonesia.
Okay.
30 between 15 and 30 dives over a 7 to 14 day period.
Wow.
Great, great thing to do.
Okay. Let's
Good on
make it disciplined. Should I, what was that? Tell my friends and make
you.
it.
Yeah. Tell someone that you're going to do this course. I'm going to go on liverboard. I'm going to go on a liverboard dive trip off Indonesia. It's
Okay.
done.
Okay.
Done. So that's the L.
Mm-hmm.
So that's you're clearly doing well with the L.
Mm-hmm.
But the next one is a little bit odd. It's the N. And a long time ago, I worked with Yum Brands, as I mentioned, fast food, and I spent a lot of time when I was a CFO presenting to the board. And one of the board members, the chairman at the time, he was 75, I think, and I was sitting next to him at dinner. He said, "Dane, nothing good happens after 9 o'clock at night when you get to 75." And I've stolen that, and I use that all the time. I'm the first person. It sounds sad, but a business event, if I'm the CEO, I'm the first person to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing good happens. People are around doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, things go wrong late at night
Yeah.
in a work environment. If some people are drinking, and it's nothing good happens after 9 o'clock at night, is one of my mantras.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means not just about staying out late at night. It's actually a metaphor for put yourself in a position to be lucky, not unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
And so an example would be staying out late. Another example might be, I want to eat less chocolate. Having chocolate in the fridge is creating temptation. So you're putting yourself in a position to be unlucky if you've got chocolate in the fridge and you're trying to give up chocolate.
Yeah.
So put yourself in a position to be lucky. So I think it was Gary Player, a great golfer. He said, the more I practice, the luckier I get. Same thing with work.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared. So if as I mentioned before, I was never the smartest person in the room, but I'd make sure I was prepared.
Yeah.
So I put myself in a position to be able to answer all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
I put myself in a position to be able to participate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the end. Nothing good happens after 9 o'clock at night.
I wished I would have known that one last night. I didn't do anything that was bad, but it just the whole staying out longer than I wanted to just has got me, it's going to take a day to catch up and feel like I'm rested, and I knew it, but we got these free concert tickets and we decided to go. But, sometimes that happens, but I knew better and I knew that I was going to feel like this today and I still did it. Sometimes you do. And sometimes it's worth it. We had fun, but I just, as you get older, staying out late, and especially when the priority is getting to the gym, we go at 6 a.m. So we wake up at 5:30, try to go at 6, and today it didn't happen because we didn't get home till 12:30. So then it was like, there's no way. And now I've been tired all day long.
Great example.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with people. They stay up late and then they've got a presentation to the boss at 9 a.m. the next morning, and they're just not at their peak.
Yeah.
And so it's put yourself in a position
Mm-hmm.
to play the best game that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what nothing good happens after 9 o'clock really means.
Yeah. And there's also some new research that I've been learning. Rob's been listening to a lot of high performance and a lot of Huberman Lab and stuff. And some of the top performing athletes, they're now saying we require 10 hours of sleep per night. Some of these top performers, their calories and their sleep. So, I mean, the average you got to figure out what you need for sleep and where you function. But the research is saying we need about 10 hours, and it's crazy. So I do well at personally 7.5 to 8 hours. I know I need that. If I don't get it, my mood, my emotions, I don't manage well. I don't regulate well. I'm tired. I'm I'm just irritable. And if I don't move my body, if I don't get up and start my day that way, I'm sluggish all day long.
Yep. Yep. And it's that habit
Mm-hmm.
that your body knows that
Mm-hmm.
it's at its best performance when you exercise in the morning.
Yep.
When you don't do it, it's going, what's happening? So,
Mm-hmm.
so no, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Great example. So my E is knowing when enough is enough. And the story I have here is about my godson.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got 3 daughters, and so all our friends, close friends, gave me their sons to be godsons. So I got 4 great godsons,
Wow.
4 fantastic godsons, not great godsons.
Mm.
Uh, and so one of them, he was a rower. So he did phenomenally well at school, captain of rowing at the school. Then went to university on the university team. Then got approached by the Australian Institute of Sport, and then was in the Australian rowing team for 10 years. But he never got to the Olympics, and that was just one of his bugbears. His aunt got to the Olympics and Mexico Olympics and won a bronze medal in swimming,
Mm-hmm.
and so he aspired to get to the Olympics, but he was actually the last rower cut from the Australian team for the Barcelona Olympics. So that was very sad.
Mm.
But he finally got into the Olympic team for Tokyo. Fantastic. So everyone's so excited, booking tickets. And then we all know what happened around the time of Tokyo. It was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was in a team, and then it was postponed. So he had a big decision.
Mm-hmm.
30 years old, and that's not old for rowers. A lot of rowers go to the Olympics in their 40s,
Mm-hmm.
but he had to decide whether he keeps going. Now, rowing and probably swimming, they have the highest training to racing ratio of any sport.
Wow.
So with the amount, when you think about a rowing race of 5 minutes, they train 6 days a week, and they train for 6 or 7 hours a day.
Wow.
For him to commit to another period of time, when who knows whether Tokyo Olympics were going to go ahead, who knows whether he would have got injured and would be in the team.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the E, enough is really important. He had to decide whether he kept going
Mm-hmm.
or not, and he decided enough was enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so he retired from the sport. He then went to live in London, and his girlfriend at the time was also an English rower.
Mm-hmm.
They have now engaged. We're going to their wedding at the end of this year. So, and he got a great job with BlackRock. So everything turned out so well for him.
Nice.
Now you might be thinking, well, what happened at the Olympics? So he was in the Australian 4. They did well on the heats. They got in the semi-finals. They did well on the semi-finals. They got in the final, and they won the gold medal.
No kidding. Wow. That is amazing.
And he wasn't there. The crew then went back to the hotel after they got their medals, and they FaceTimed him.
Mm.
And they said, "Hamish, this is for you, mate. You should have been. You're part of the team. You were on the boat with us."
Mm.
And the great thing about Hamish, he never ever regretted his decision.
Good.
Enough was enough. I'd given everything that sport. I had a wonderful journey,
Yeah.
but enough was enough. I decided to move on and start doing something else.
Yeah.
And
That's
I've got
right.
so much respect for him in doing that. But we all need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough as a CEO. I went through it.
Mm-hmm.
Retiring and stopping being a CEO. I stopped when I was 59,
Mm-hmm.
and I could have kept going. People kept saying, "You're good at this, Dane. You could easily do this for another 10 years." But I said, "No, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Time to do something else."
Yeah.
So we need to decide the E, enough is enough. It could be the job. It could be the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the career. It could be the sport.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the dinner.
Yeah.
So we need to have that discipline to say, I'm good with where I am.
Yep.
Time to move on. Time to do something else. And it's a tough thing to do.
It is.
It's a tough thing to do. But that's the they're all really, I think they're all really important points, but that's why it's perfect that I finish up on the E, because you need to decide when enough is enough. And it might be, okay, enough is enough. I need to get fit. I need to do something about my health. And enough's enough. I need to become more disciplined.
Yeah. Enough's enough. I might need to get off the couch or right, whatever it is, or I need to stop sleeping in or hitting snooze. That's one thing, you know, somebody was talking about the other day, they were really tired about, and they keep hitting snooze. And I'm like, have you ever heard of that? Just not hitting snooze and just getting up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just get up. And some, you know, so you've got to decide that you want to do that and make it happen. And I love that enough is enough. And, you know, I think that's sometimes we don't think about that as it relates to our comfort. We really like comfort, and
Yeah.
no growth or, you know, good things really happen in our comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to push yourself a little bit into that uncertainty, maybe fear zone, growth zone, that status quo, back to the lifelong learning, status quo. A lot of people live very happily in the status quo, and I respect those people. But there's also a lot of people that realize the status quo is going nowhere. There's things I can do differently, and I should investigate that.
Yeah. Well, I love the model. I'm so grateful for you to share your time and your wisdom with us. I have a couple more questions if you have a couple more minutes.
Please go, Angie.
So, what is some of the worst leadership advice that you would like to, that you've ever gotten that you'd like to warn our listeners about?
Well, number one would be these people that think they're the smartest person in the room. That they act like that. They say, "Hey, and I know I'll be successful. I'm so smart." I got scammed 2 weeks ago. I thought I could never be scammed. You know, I've rejected the calls thousands of times, like everyone, but they got me. It wasn't much money, but they got me. And gosh, do I feel dumb.
Right.
And there's a lot of smart people like me that have been scammed. In fact, when I spoke to my bank, they said they have 20,000 cases that they're working on at the moment. And that was just Singapore.
Wow.
And so being the smartest person in the room does not guarantee success.
No.
Being the best prepared puts you in a position to do well. That's all you can do. You can only put yourself in a position to do well. So that'd be one piece of advice, is that, or people that think they're the smartest people. And the other one is, you know, I'm the boss. I make all the decisions. And there's a lot of, you know, autocracy in the world. That's my role, and it is your role. But any decision will be a better decision if you actually use your team to help you make that decision.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so people who think they can just run the company or run their lives without any sort of interaction and feedback from other people are unlikely to achieve what they think they can achieve.
Absolutely. What about some of the best leadership advice you've ever gotten?
Yeah. So don't look at the clock would be number one. Enjoy the journey. My greatest successes and my greatest promotions were when I stopped counting the months that I was in that role. So often we're in a job and we're going, okay, what's next? But actually, if I can guarantee that your supervisor is watching your performance in your current role, and if you do a fantastic job, then that positions you well. So one of my roles was as CEO of KFC in Southern Africa. It was a big business, about 500 odd KFCs there. Those who know South Africa, the crime, I drove a bulletproof car. We lived in a gated community. But Melinda and I we loved it. It was probably our favorite expat experience.
Wow.
And so every once a week, my boss, who was based in Dallas, would call me and just check in. And every time I spoke to him, I'd have a smile on my face and say how fantastic it is and never complain. And just so he felt so comfortable with me there. Obviously, I needed to do a good job, but I wasn't sort of negative Nelly. Every time he called up complaining or Debbie. I was always happy, always upbeat, and so he always left pleased with the discussion.
Yeah.
But then after 2 years, I said, "Hey, Peter, I've had an amazing experience here. Everyone's touched by violent crime here. It's time to get me out." And he did, and he did. But every day we were there, we were focused, and we loved it. And that would be something I'd really encourage people to do: is don't look at your watch and the clock and how long you're in the role. Do a great job in your current role.
Yeah.
Second thing that I would suggest is that I've got a strong belief in people. Probably caught me out when I got scammed, but I've got a really strong belief in people. I think people are trying to do the right thing most of the time. And if you have that sort of mindset, you're going to actually build better relationships over time. So that's a really important part. That have a really strong belief in people and trust the people. So those are two little nuggets. And then maybe the last one is something I teach a lot of my leaders is a leader is a person of hope. So you need to be out front all the time. So I love the old movie, The Gladiator, with Russell Crowe. I'm fascinated to see how the next Gladiator movie will play out. But I love that movie, and there was Russell Crowe out front, leading the way. And a leader needs to do that. Anyone in your organization can get a different job elsewhere, likely at better pay. They're there because you're there. They're following you. So you've got to be that person of hope.
Yeah, that's so good. Man, just so much wisdom packed in here. I just could keep talking with you. This is incredible. I love everything that you're sharing and your experiences and so much gems in here, right? Like just so much good stuff.
Thank you.
I love it. So if somebody wanted to book you for speaking or they wanted to have you as a coach, how will they contact you? How do they find you?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is very easy. So Dane, there's not a lot of Dane Hudsons on LinkedIn, number one. I do have two websites. One website is my Impactful Leadership website, so impactfulleadership.com. And I've got a keynote speaking website, which is danehudson.com. But an easy email is dane@impactfulleadership.com. And always happy to have a chat. I love my coaching, and I do a lot of work with the people's leadership teams and at their conferences with keynotes as well. So
I'd love to get you over
I've had
here.
a wonderful journey reinventing myself, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, I just hope that I can get you to speak somewhere over here, or that I can get over to see you sometime in Singapore or something again. We'll figure something out. Melinda and I are kind of scheming.
Good. As I said, get your dive ticket, and we'll do a dive trip.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you all for listening to the Leader U podcast. I'm sure you found some really good stuff in here. My ask is that you like and subscribe and you share this wisdom with others. And we love you, and we're so glad you're here. So thank you for listening.